Don't
like
you do a show, Wes? Don't you do
here?
a show, Wes? Don't you do a show a couple times a week?
Man,
Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I'm completely off my game. Here you go. There it is. Frozen hand. All right, we're starting all over. There we go.
What a shit show. Welcome back to the big. I love the new background, Timmy. You look good.
Thank you. You know, like I said to you off camera, we've reorged the office a little bit, and right above me, if you don't remember the pictures, there's a basketball rim. So now I'm standing on fake parquet floor, and with a Celtics logo, of course.
Well, we could just get right into shots on goal because the Celtics.
Wow.
Here's my question. The Celtics are sitting at 20-5, and the Bruins are actually sitting at 20-3.
And one. They had an overtime loss. Yeah.
Okay. Which one has a better shot of winning a championship this year?
The Boston Celtics.
By far.
Yeah, because we learned a couple of seasons ago that you can win the President's Cup and get knocked out in the first round. But the Bruins did that. So, yeah, I agree.
It is, interesting to me with the Celtics. And, so much was made last season, mid-season about Ime Udoka and his turning the season around. And now you look and go, well, was all that going to happen anyway? Like we put so much into a coach and kind of maybe the way the team gelled. I don't want to take away from him at all. I mean, but now you've got Tatum and who's a year older, and you've got I can never think of his name.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank now.
Yeah, a year older, and then you throw in a veteran guy, and and here they are, just on fire. It's amazing. They're leading the league in scoring. Their defense is not what it was last year, late season. But when you're scoring at the rate they're scoring, it's just almost incredible.
Yeah, well, who's the guy? Blake Griffin. Nice six man off the. I mean, God, 10 again. He's been around 10, 12 years in the league, but still, I mean, he had a crazy game. Lawrence, who works for me, apparently, should be doing other things, but he is. He's talking about his Eagles. He's an Eagle fan. I didn't know it before we interviewed him, but I'm happy for him. I mean, they'll probably get knocked out in the first round, and that'll be that.
Well, I was going to mention, if you recall at our NFL show, my sleeper pick for the Super Bowl was the Eagles.
Yeah, and mine was the Green Bay Packers, and how
yeah, that didn't age very well.
No.
Not one bit did it. So what else you got I got 3 or 4 more shots on goal.
All right, I'll go with one. I just want to wish this gentleman right here a happy 66th birthday today.
Yeah.
Happy 66, Larry Joe Bird. For anyone who was a Celtics fan and grew up in this area, especially, it was an amazing thing, and he was an amazing player. So happy birthday to Larry Bird.
Yeah. Can we talk about Deion Sanders?
Yeah, man, I am addicted to watching, I'm addicted to watching his press conferences and, and that guy, I don't know, say what you want about him. I think I wasn't a fan back in the day, but I'm clearly a fan now. And it's just really funny to me as I watch the people at Jackson State and the fringe people that are upset with him for taking this opportunity. It just really bothers me. Everyone's like, I want opportunity for, minority coaches and people to make changes. And he made a lot of changes there, man. He called in a lot of favors from American Airlines to Under Armour to on and on and on. And now people are dogging him for doing it. It doesn't make sense to me. What's your take on it?
Oh, I agree with that. I do think it's going to be. I think I understand that because I think what's going to happen to Jackson State. What's it going to look like 3 years from now? Is it going to be back to what it was? I mean, there'll be some semblance of what was built, and then it'll decline because it's not Coach Prime there. But he connects with athletes in a different way, and I think he commands this respect. And the reality is, I read an article today. They've already got. They've already had 4 or 5 5-star kids that are decommitting from Alabama and Georgia, and they're going to Colorado. It's just gonna be. I've enjoyed I've been watching this for 3 years now at Jackson State because it's just let me back up. You look at a guy like you mentioned, Larry Bird, right?
Right.
Some of the greatest athletes of all time are great athletes, but they can't be great coaches because their expectation is that everyone should play the way I played. And
sure, Michael Jordan experienced that too.
Right. And so that's what I think has been cool about him. He strikes me as a guy who he's lifting everybody up and he's trying to make them all better in a different way than maybe Michael Jordan could have.
Sure.
And it's been kind of cool to watch. The funniest part to me about all of it is then the interview with the athletic director at Colorado saying, well, we don't even have the money to pay him. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, they just flat out, we don't have the money to pay him. And so it's like, well, where's this coming from? And you kind of, for me, you read between the lines, go, well, look, if this guy does what we think he's going to do, well, he's going to sell tickets. And he's already selling, they're already selling merchandise. And that stuff's already happening and ringing the cash register where they're selling season tickets. And, right now today for next season, it's going to be neat to watch the whole process. And I just, I think it's going to be incredible. And if you're a 5-star, 4-star kid, why would you not want to go play for prime time?
No, he is so dramatic. Although, I will say, I watched his players only meeting, the one with the cameras that went live, players only. But, he was not pulling any punches. Some of you guys aren't going to be here. I'd get in the portal tomorrow if I were you, and you know who you are, so it was wild. It's wild, and they're finally starting to pay these kids something, and it's going to be crazy to watch. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, being living in Big 12 country in Oklahoma, Colorado leaves the Big 12 to go to the Pac-10, and I was shocked. They've been in the Pac-10 for like 12 or 13 years, and they've only had one winning record. And that's just crazy to me. And he's going to turn that thing around. And I think it's going to happen pretty quick. And we'll see how all that goes. But I've got one more. I've got two more, but I think I'll throw out one more. Has Bill made it on yet?
He's here.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I've got one more just to throw out there. There's an article from Mike Rowe who's talking about, and this is not sports marketing, whatever, but the number right now is there are 7 million men in the United States between the ages of 25 and 54 that have just said, I'm not working no more.
I heard that. I heard that too. I don't know if it was Candace Owens or someone on TikTok that sent a message to Mike regarding that whole thing, saying, she has a program to get men back to work. And how do you check out? I mean,
I don't know. It's so bizarre. And it's not that they just can't work. They can't. I'm just not working.
And what was the age? Any idea what the age?
Between 25 and 54. So men in their prime. It's not working.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. I got one more shot on goal, and it's really funny. You've heard of the word frivolous, right? Right.
Yes.
All right. So
I've heard of it.
Right. So you heard the story about this woman, Amanda Ramirez, who is suing Kraft for her mac and cheese. Yes. Her mac and cheese took more than 3.5 minutes to.
That's the world we live in, dude.
Right. And she's suing for $5 million. But it made me think. So I went down this little rabbit hole of other frivolous lawsuits, and I'll give you a couple of my favorites. In 1995, there's this inmate who sued himself for violating his own civil rights, hoping that
sounds like something Wes would do.
Hoping that Bill's talking about on the side about the woman who coffee was too hot.
Wait, let's quit talking. Let's get him on.
All right, cool. Let's bring him on.
Do the introduction.
Hey, Bill.
Hello, everybody. You guys are talking about the most interesting things ever. You got Jordan. You got people dropping out of the workforce. You got ridiculous
we're all over the
lawsuits. I'm sitting in the sidelines going, wait, I want in on this. This is good stuff.
Yeah, we always kick our show off with shots on goal, just things that we're kind of rolling around in our mind. And so it can be anything from guys not working into Michael Jordan. You never do. So, Bill, do you have a shot on goal or two you'd like to throw out real quick?
You know what? I'm going to hold on those for fear of getting political skeptical right off of the bat. I think I'll wait and we'll see how the temperature of the conversation.
Yeah, we don't, Bill. We don't have any sponsors, so it doesn't really matter to us who says what.
The whole like, even as you tip into the whole like I'm not going to work thing, like that whole thing. So I recently joined TikTok and I had a couple of videos of them. The funniest thing that I get back, and I guess this is my shot on goal, is people complaining that the video at 2.5 minutes is too long. And I'm like, wait a second. So I tell you something that if you use appropriately will make you millions of dollars. And your feedback to me is, dude, your TikTok's a little long. I was like,
right.
Then I don't know that it's the length of my TikTok that maybe is the issue with the whole approach here. Perhaps there's something else that we could consider.
Well, you're absolutely right. I'll tell you, and I won't do a real. I'll let Bill do a little bit more of I'll do an informal introduction. I came across Bill on TikTok because, much like everyone else, I scroll and I try to find something, that's either uplifting, touches my heart, touches my soul. And in my world, as a small boutique agency outside of Boston, I want to be able to bring some value. And plus, as I will share with you, Bill, I'm also a minority shareholder in a high tech company down in Atlanta, where we're struggling a little bit with our messaging. So when I started to listen to your stuff on TikTok, it made me do a little bit of a deeper dive. But Bill, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? And I know you live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and this is your fourth successful agency that you have owned. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit what you're up to these days?
Yeah, so I'm originally a Chicago boy who came down for warmer weather, and I got bitten early by the marketing advertising bug. And I think listening to people's backgrounds can be a little draggy, so I'll kind of keep it to this. I fell madly in love with helping companies make the pivot from being feature benefit focused to storytelling, because every household name brand that we know at some point in time made a conscious decision to make that change. And so we refer to that as strategic storytelling, and it's the thing that we get really into. So I'm not chasing Nike or Coca-Cola, don't have any interest in working with the top tier brands. I want to work with the groups that want to become that. And one of the biggest things that we do to help them gear themselves up, and there's a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, but I think the big pivot point that we really help them focus on is getting into telling a story, and one that they can own. So that's sort of the thrust of what gets us out of bed in the morning. Yeah. So our tagline, which you just brought up, is no story, no glory. And truthfully, I couldn't find a way to get it any more concise than that, right? If you haven't got your story together, then you're not going to get the glory that you're looking for.
I was going to ask, kind of based on no story, no glory, because I've the second he messaged me about you on TikTok maybe a month ago, I've watched all of your stuff quite a bit. And so when you're telling a story and you're sitting in the war room and you're coming up with what that story is and what that looks like, how often does the story change, or does it morph into something else, or do you stick with it and just pound it?
No, you know what? And I think a lot of this comes from time I spent in theater when I was a kid, but I think you got to play to the audience. So I think if you imagine telling a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but the group you're standing in front of is all about bread, well, then you're going to kind of lean that direction, right? And if the group you're in front of is all about knives, then you're going to talk about the value of the knife. Now, the story itself doesn't change, right? But because the audience is the group that they are, you're going to kind of pivot to what they want to do. And I sort of see that as the kind of true mark for whether or not you're ready to walk into a room and tell a story is, can you tell it in a couple of different ways without having to sit and think about it for 8 hours, in a way that will keep the audience with you. And so, I like the fact that they change. If I had to tell the story the same way every single time, it would drive me batshit crazy, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, how can we keep the gist of it the same, but be able to throw things in the mix that keep it fresh for the person telling it as much as the group that's hearing it.
Right.
So what are the biggest mistakes in your mind that brands make, whether they be emerging brands, existing brands, an idea that someone might have, they're trying to get off the ground, or someone who's trying to bring back a brand like, Stuckey's. I don't know. You probably follow her on.
Absolutely. That's a great question. I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to one thing, and that is they stop playing to win and they start playing it safe. And what I mean by that is when you come out of the gate and you're a young business owner or you've just been put in the position of CEO or what have you, you've got something to prove, right? And so you're willing to take chances and you're willing to say things that are unique in order to get noticed. And then comes the paycheck, right? Then comes the bank, then come the clients. And the next thing you know, you're like, well, maybe next quarter, we're not going to quite say this thing the way that we used to say it. And then a few quarters beyond that, it's no, well, we definitely won't do that. And the next thing you know, you sound and look just like everybody else, either because they've copied you or the people that, you copied, suddenly you decided maybe that was a little too crazy. And so you back off of all of that. And I think at the end of the day, the biggest mistake that I see consistently is brands losing their voice. And I kind of liken that also. So that kind of part one. Part two is that they try to jump the gun. If you think about meeting somebody for the first time, right? Like you need to know that there's an emotional connection first. So you're going to start off with simple things. So it'd be like if I met you for the first time and I was like, oh, by the way, I go to church at, Sunday from 9 to 11. And then I do this thing and I brush my teeth with this. And you're like, whoa, I'm not ready for all that. That's all that feature and benefit stuff that companies have a tendency to lead with. We've been in business this long. We have this many people like, yeah. But I'm not like, do I like you yet? Do I want to get engaged with you enough to learn about you? And that's really what that tow truck story is all about, is kind of getting people to be out of their own business and in the literally in this case, the driver's seat as a consumer again, so they remember what it feels like to hear those messages. You've got to adhere to a single simple thing. I use cars all the time because it's easy. Volvo is about safety. Prius is about saving the world one gas tank at a time. Porsche is about performance. They adhere to these simple things because then their potential audience can opt in or opt out quickly. And I think that's really what marketing is supposed to do. It's supposed to say we're right for these folks and we're not right for those. And storytelling is the fastest way to convey that in a way that people can not only get, but easily remember and easily retell. And isn't that the greatest benefit to a proper marketing campaign, right? Yeah. Something that people can remember and retell to friends.
Love it.
Yeah, I mean, in one of your TikToks recently, you talked about the purpose of marketing being emotional engagement, not selling something. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a huge mistake I think people make, is trying to convince to the purchase. But that has nothing to do with it. What I really want to do in marketing is get somebody to go, oh my God, yes, like they get it. Those people totally understand me, because that then trips that whole life experience thing that says, those are my people. I can trust them. I want to be with them. They see the world the same way that I do. Yeah. And so it really has nothing to do with sales. Sales is the byproduct of successfully making that emotional connection. And when companies step over that, they lose them. If you ever wondered why, and a lot of people ask me this, they're like, oh God, you remember that Budweiser commercial? What's up? That was stupid. That was ridiculous. And I was like, I was brilliant. And they're like, well, why? And I say, because when you see that spot and you go, oh, wait. Hey, Tommy, what's up? And Tommy goes, yeah, man, me too. Right? That connection that's made there is like almost tribal, right? That's like, those are people that I can get along with. So when I look at the ridiculousness, and this as a Chicago boy, it hurts me to say this because Miller was, the first beer I ever had in my life. But when they talk about like putting a funnel swirl in the neck of their bottle because the beer comes out less foamy or whatever, I'm like, okay, totally don't get it. Was up versus funnel neck, like don't, like they're not even in the same category. And so Anheuser-Busch, in doing that stupid, ridiculous thing where we sat on the couch with them and ignored the rest of the people in the room and was up right along with them, and then went and did it with 800 of our friends over the next 10 years.
I still do it.
Right, of course you do. Because let's take the fact that we're guys out of it, because there's like a strong propensity that we would do that, of course, more because we're in the first place. But nonetheless, walk down the aisle and you go, the red guys get it and the blue guys don't. And that translates into sales, and it translates into brand loyalty.
Right. And, they know their market, real men of genius.
Seriously. Right. Well, here's to you, towel hander guy in the bathroom, right? Like,
yeah.
Bravo, right? Like beautifully done. Right. And all the way down to, putting a paintbrush in a cow's hand, right? Like perfect. Like it just, the brilliance of I want to see what's going to happen next. I'm interested in your story that you're telling. What's the next chapter? Like it's a cliffhanger if you do it right. And that's, I think the groups that do it well understand that it's not a one-off. It's a series of chapters, and it's a series of chapters that have to keep you engaged because it's a reflection of what you care about. And so many businesses, I blame Harvard for this, because at the end of the day, when you look at the marketing programs that the MBAs follow, all of them default to and marketing. It's like, we're going to talk ops, and we're going to talk managerial, we're going to talk, economics, and we're going to talk, dollars and cents. Oh, and then, marketing. If they realized how many zeros they were leaving on the table, CEOs would be screaming from their chairs. But it's a blind spot, and one, fortunately for those of us, Tim, who own, is a place where we can add value. So it's a good thing.
No doubt, no doubt.
I want to ask a question regarding what you just said regarding storytelling. Is there a brand that you represent that is your favorite story right now that you just like geek out about it and you just love it and it's in your heart?
So here's the thing. People ask us frequently, what's your specialty? And where I think that we've really enjoyed that is we love the storytelling. Like, there's a reason why people fall in love with brand. So it's not about, well, we really know banking. In fact, every company that I've ever consulted with or worked for that saw themselves that way, that were like, we're specialists in either a solution set, a channel, or a category group, all of them cut corners because they said to themselves, well, we know this category, and thus we're going to do it like this. Well, if you want to peek behind the curtain on how these companies became so milk with a blue lid, there you go. That's how that all, I think, in my humble opinion on the theory behind that, is that that's kind of where that all began. So the answer is I'm in love with all of them because each one of them represents a completely unique story. 2 seconds on this. Delsay luggage, which was a 7.5-year buy cycle for a durable good product, versus breast cancer index, which was, HR positive breast cancer patients on whether or not they would recur and whether or not the therapy would work for them. Radically different groups, radically different problems, radically different challenges. And so, not to steal Buscemi's line, the scenery changes. And, we get to blow stuff up, right? Like, that's what makes this really fun. So the Delsay stuff was amazing because we got to turn them into a story about lightweight and the woman walking through the wet cement and the person blowing bubbles and all that fun junk that we did. And then over on the breast cancer side, humanizing denial and what we did with those concepts, like, they're endlessly fun. So all of them are fun because they all represent the same kind of challenge.
See, that's like me walking into a restaurant saying what's good and the waitress says everything. Like, you didn't help me there, but I appreciate your answer. Well, I appreciate your answer there.
Yeah, you did notice that he didn't name really any of them.
No, he didn't say shit. He just like,
all right. Well, then ask it again, and I'll try.
Yeah, maybe next time. Hey, what kind of Harley do you have?
I had a 2008 Fat Boy for a number of years. And then my third child came along and I realized that it was getting dusty, which violates the Harley owner code. And so I respectfully gave mine to somebody who would enjoy it until my children were old enough that I could get out of that house.
So you are the guy in the minivan. How long are you in for?
That is my all-time favorite line of anything that was ever written. I read that billboard and literally stood on the side of the road crying. I was laughing so hard. That's my all-time favorite line ever.
That's awesome.
Don't know who penned it, but if I could ever, that was the best line ever.
Right. You want to find who that person was and, hire them.
Yes, for sure. I'm sure I can't afford them.
Right.
Go ahead, Tim. I got a bunch of questions, but
so do I. I mean, I've watched all of, when I found you, then I went back and then I went forward and I've been watching you. I love the one you posted like 20 hours ago with the lightweight luggage. I thought that was great. I'd love to chat about that one a little bit, but
sure.
From a completely selfish point, what advice would you give emerging brands? Someone that's entering a vertical that really is saturated, but you have a new way to do it.
Yeah. So I think the thing is, don't focus on the fact that you have a new way to do it. I think that's the big mistake, because anything can be copied. And especially if you're a new company coming into the market, groups that have a greater budget than you are likely to be able to copy it quickly. So like I'm looking at the EV market, and it's really funny. The EV market and the CBD and THC markets, who both of which represent really exciting potentials for growth, none of them want to talk to anybody right now. They're all like, dude, we're growing. Right. And it's really funny to watch the arrogance of it, because you're sitting and talking to them and they're like, well, you know, we're in the fastest, hottest 2 growing categories there are. And I sit back and I watch and I'm like, yeah, and there's 1,000 of you popping up every day. No one's the Nike of the category yet. Who's going to say something that they can own? So I think the biggest thing there, like the greatest strength, the fact that their product is innovative or new or works really, really well, I think is the proof point that they need, because so many companies are putting lipstick on a pig. So if these guys have come out and they've really got a better mousetrap, okay, great. So tuck that away as the foundation. Now the thing is if you've got the better mousetrap, then you've got everybody else beat for the time being. Now let's surprise the hell out of them and say something interesting. Do something unique. So they're at that place that I was talking about a while ago with the CEO that fears nothing, right? They're bulletproof at that point, because all they want to do is show the world that they can. So instead of talking about this thing that the more they talk about it, the more detail they're giving for a competitor to get an advantage on it, why not instead turn the thing on? This is why we felt we needed a better mousetrap in the first place. What was the part of the problem that wasn't being solved by the regular thing? And there's always something. So, you know, Nike was not the first shoe company to come out, but by staking this idea that we release people's inner athlete, and if you have a body, you're an athlete, suddenly they stopped selling apparel and shoes and equipment, and they started selling progress. Well, none of the rest of those groups were. Some of them sold fashion, some of them sold the best running shoe in the world, some of them sold whatever, but no one else sold progress. And $45 billion later, these guys are unstoppable. And whether they, you know, I've known some people that actually worked in the echelons over there, and they were like, that was not how that started. And that's true. It wasn't. There was a whole love of athletes, and there was a need and a desire to connect with people, and the rest of it that gave them some third-party endorsement that was super helpful. But so did those other brands have access to all of that. What made them different in the long run was that they stopped thinking about themselves in terms of the shoes or the product or the apparel, and they thought about themselves in terms of every single person is a superstar athlete. You just don't know it yet. And we'll make sure that you understand how and when and where you can be if you'll do one thing. Just do it. A step, a meal, an hour of this, of that. Just skip a thing, do a thing, show up one more day a week than you did. And that transition has meant all the difference for that brand, and every brand that has done a story like it that's ever had been in business.
Great.
I'm going to just to piggyback on that, because I have this written down. Greatest athlete you've ever seen play live.
Michael Jordan. Stop.
I thought you'd say that for sure.
This whole LeBron thing is such a complete and total distraction. I mean, and I hope nobody's a LeBron fan, but no. It's just,
so, all right, because I figured you'd say Michael Jordan. Who's the second greatest athlete you've ever seen play live? Maybe that's a little better question for you.
Oh, see, I'm not a.
Probably gonna say Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, he's
no.
Rodman.
But Scotty's probably pretty close. I'm not a huge sports guy, actually. Okay. So I don't know that I could tell you who the next.
Well, then we won't hold you to that. So one of your TikToks, and we both have that as a point of reference to talk about, but it's a little early on, but I love when you talk about a life hack, and I absolutely love it. And you talk about the higher you get up, the more you need to serve people. And that's just life, right? Can you talk about that for a minute? Because I love it.
Yeah, the 4 most important words in business and in life, in my opinion, are "it's not about you." And I think it takes us all so long to figure that out. And I mean, at some point, you just put it down. The only way that I'm ever going to get where I want to go is if I make sure that you get where you want to go. And that goes all the way down to this discussion. If you guys take a risk in having me come on and I'm a horrible interviewer or whatever, then you got to work around it, right? And that's an issue. So it's like when you think about all the concerns and fears and worries that you have about the way that you do your job or are a parent or whatever, and all of them in the sandwich that is your life. And then you think, okay, well, now I'm a client and I've got to spend my company's money and it's my name and reputation on the line, the only thing that we can be coming at this from is a position of serving. I mean, it's got to be, you've got to feel safe and important, and it's got to be about, let me make sure that I understand. So I can't come at it from the standpoint of, and I learned this the hard way. So I'm by no means saying that I am insightful. I learned this because I crashed against the rocks of doing it stupidly as a younger man. But it was like, well, I've been in business for a long time. Well, I know this because I've been doing it and such and such. And I would just watch the total erosion of the relationship happen right in front of my eyes, right? And then it suddenly dawned on me one day. I was like, all anybody in the world wants is to reach their destination, no matter what it is that they want. And that could be, I need a Kleenex, to I want to hit $100 million, to please just let me show my boss that when they made the decision to hire me, when the other person was fired, that it was the right choice. And the second you start looking at it that way, it's like, whatever tool I have, whatever gift I've got to give, whatever time I can just stand there holding a bag for you, I'll do it. Because at the end of the day, that gets you one step closer. And that means that you'll trust that I'll be in your corner, which means that the relationship will be strong. And from that, anything is possible.
Wow. That's great. I know Eric has probably had a question about social media because he's really, really good at it. But what from a TikTok standpoint, what made you buy in and go in? I mean, you've got about 10,000 followers, and that's growing. And I know it's going to grow a lot faster. But what was it that made you pick up your phone and try the first one? And
he's checking his TikTok right now. Look at
this is the most embarrassing question and I knew you were going to ask it, so I've been dreading it. So I have been anti-social media forever, because I'm like,
this is going to lead right into my question. Go ahead.
I've been like, this is ridiculous. All I ever do is see people shake their ass. I'm like, this is a redonkulous thing. What a waste of time. And a gentleman that I know who introduced me to a client called me one day, and he's super up on TikTok, and he's about my age. He's mid-50s, and he was like, you need to be on TikTok. And I was like, no, just hard stop. No, why would I waste my time? It's like for kids, and they're doing all this ridiculous stuff. And he said, no, I completely understand it. Let me get this straight. You went on, and it was like drunk people falling down and people dancing to whatever and so forth, right? Yeah. He says, I want you to come to this presentation. I've brought this guy in from California who's a TikTok specialist, and I want you to see him. So I went to the thing, and I was watching this guy, and he was struggling to articulate the structure of what he had done. He had done something naturally. It took off. He suddenly had like 10 million followers or whatever. And so he's suddenly deemed TikTok expert. But what I realized as he was talking about it was the structure was exactly the same as marketing. Like the pattern suddenly just presented itself to me. And as I was leaving, his last big point was, the thing is, no one's going to do it. Like, you all came to this event and you sat down, and the truth of the matter is about 2% of you will actually give it a try. And so one day I'm sitting in the car, and I'm thinking on this, and I'm thinking on it, and that little guilt fairy, is whispering in my ear going,
right.
Other people could do it. You probably could too. And I'm like, yeah, get off my ass. And I was like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to do it. So I got on, and I was fumbling, and I was like, I had a broken monitor stand in my office. And like, it was one of those things where I got angry at myself. I was like, damn it, I'm just going to do it. So I walked in, I grabbed this stand, and I set it down, and I put it on, and I hit record, and I just did something, and I posted it. And then I got like 200 people that were interested. And I was like, all right, I can beat 200 people. So then like the competitive nature kicked in, and I was like, all right, let's do another thing. Well, so then, so I've done that a couple of days, and then I decided to tell the tow truck story. And I told it because every time I tell the tow truck story, people are like, oh, dude, that is like so great. You got to tell that. So I was like, all right. So one day I get on, I tell the tow truck story. And I go back and look, I don't know, an hour later, and I've got 10,000 views. And I was like, that can't be right. And I go back later, and I've got 35,000 views. And I start getting things from my teammates going, dude, you're about to go viral. And I'm like, I'm not going viral. Viral's like 1 million people. They were like, You're going viral. You just don't know it yet. And I was like, no. So I'm looking at this thing. So I went on TikTok the first time ever, the Thursday before Thanksgiving. So 10,000 people.
A year ago or just a couple of weeks ago?
2 weeks. 2 weeks was the first
Oh,
time I ever posted.
Okay.
So all of this crazy weirdness has happened in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Tomorrow.
Crazy.
So that's how much I know about social media. LinkedIn, I'm all over LinkedIn. I got 20,000 people I'm connected to on LinkedIn. That's a machine.
This is perfect.
But it's ridiculous. And yet it works. So
well, here was the thing Tim and I talked about, because I looked you up, and most of the time I can get on someone's Instagram and I can click on stuff they're tagged in, and you can see like some funny weird stuff or whatever. And even like from your agency, you guys haven't posted on Instagram or Facebook in months.
No.
Months. So my question is, and I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to be disrespectful.
You will not offend me.
I'll offend Tim and Wes all day long. I don't want to offend you.
What?
You talk so much about telling stories, and I think to watch you on TikTok, you have such a great presence to tell stories and to captivate me and Tim a little bit, and that's hard to do. But why not on the other platforms that are out there? Because if I'm a prospective client, maybe I don't look for that, but maybe I do. And so it's not there. And it's obviously by choice, but can you kind of talk about why the choice is that way, other than you just don't like it?
Yeah, I can. As a traditional brander, I think about the world less like the people think about marketing today. Today, everybody begins with bottom of the funnel up to 10 or 15 million. And then maybe if they're lucky, somebody comes along and explains that awareness actually helps, and then they get to that place. So the companies that we work with, we're spending a lot of time dialing in their marketing and sales efforts and like the broader, bigger message, and then bringing them awareness up on a larger level. And almost all of them at the level that I'm talking about are like, we've got digital, we've got social. And I'm like, okay, that's great, because what I want to do is tell the story that ultimately gets brought down through all those channels. So my focus has been up here. What this TikTok thing really kind of taught me was that while they may have people doing it, they don't do it well. And I started going backwards now that this thing with TikTok has happened, and really been deconstructing the quote unquote content development. And that was what I hated, because I read it and I was like, it's so much junk. Like there's no journalistic integrity. There's no, like, all the things that I value aren't there. It's like we're just chugging out stuff and charging clients for it. And I can't stand that. It violates everything I stand for. So going back to it now, I finally see for the first time what it is that the structure needs to be in order for it to truly work appropriately. And so I think I would go back and put a foot in that arena in a different way than I have. But again, I'm not sure that they would like my approach to it, which was quality over quantity. I would forego the keeping up with the Joneses of I've got to post every day and I've got to. I don't believe that now. What I believe is that there's so little true valuable content because everybody's either trying to tease it or they kind of talk about it, or this whole like 3 easy steps, 10 things you got to do construct nonsense. Like all that stuff is garbage. At the end of the day, say something with meaning. And if you do, people will stop and pay attention to it for 5 minutes. I've learned about hate mail in the last couple of days. It's really funny. Like people going, this is totally wrong and you should never be in advertising. And I can't believe you do this. And I just crack up. I'm like, well, they made $85 million on it. So you can dislike it all you want, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of feeling okay about it, So it really, I've sent messages back to Tom, the gentleman who brought me here, and the gentleman who made the presentation originally, and said, I really want to thank you for getting me to change my mind on this. You got me to be that 1% that was willing to give it a try. And in doing so, it completely changed my point of view on what was possible through this medium. So I'm thrilled. I've learned something, and mostly I learned that I was wrong about it. So I'm really, really glad, because now I've got a new tool to use.
That's awesome.
There is your tow truck TikTok is funny because I went through and started looking at some of the comments the other day. And there was one thing. This could have been told in 12 seconds. Like I'm like, why do people have to be such jerks on social?
Jealous, just jealous. That's
stupid.
Jealous.
Just stupid.
That's what Mom always told me. They're just jealous.
They're just jealous. Well, I don't want to keep you forever, but I do have a very serious question.
Yes, sir.
What's your favorite T-shirt? Is it that you are not your target audience? Hashtag kicking ads or win dominate? I was told that you were going to have a win dominate shirt on, and that's complete false advertising.
I am so sorry. I realized that it was dirty this morning. When I went out of the house, I was like, oh, Tim's going to give me so much shit about it. No, I think the funny thing is that the don't just win, dominate, which we truncated to win with a line through it and then just dominate under it, which is on about 7 of the videos that I did. That one is the one that everybody asks about. I mean, to the point where we're now printing them because everybody wants one. So it's like, right. So everybody is like, oh my God, like, I think that one is so cool. But what's really interesting is I think the internal rallying cry of kicking ads sort of took off internally. Like everybody is like, yeah, man, today we're going to go kick some ads, which is really fun. But the one that people stop me about on the street is you are not your target audience. And every time I wear that shirt, somebody stops me and says, what does that mean? And it's a really interesting conversation that comes from it, because no matter where they are in the organization, they get the idea that, N can never equal 1, right? And so it's a great conversation starter. That's awesome.
I've got 2 last questions. What are you reading?
What am I reading right now? This is a hard question for me to answer because I'm always reading like 6 books at a time. But I'm reading a book on selling value, not selling deliverables, because I'm in the firm belief that we've been way too focused on that. I'm reading a real estate book. I'm writing a book that's all about marketing, which has got a fair bit of time. And then I've got 3 kids at home that are young. So not a whole lot of time for reading right now, but that one on value is the one that I'm really enjoying at the moment.
You mentioned your mid 50s and you said 3 kids at home. Like I'm 52 with a 10 and a 3-year-old. What are you rocking at home right now?
11, 13, and 15.
All right. Yeah, that's a fun age. I said I had 2 questions, so I had 2 more. Earlier we were talking about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, right?
Yeah.
You like crust on or crust off?
Oh, I'm definitely a crust on guy. I'm
Good
going
answer.
for the whole hog.
Good answer. Tim and Wes they know this question's coming because I love to ask it. What are you insecure about?
Let's see. What's the best way to articulate that? I'm insecure about coming off wrong most of the time. I have a lot that I get excited about sharing, and I think a lot of times that comes off as arrogance or cocky, and I don't particularly like that. So I struggle to find the balance between those 2 places. And even after all the years that I've been doing this, every time I look at a blank page, I'm convinced I won't be able to fill it, right? Either through a strategy piece or through a creative piece. That, if you want to talk about being humble or insecure about something, picking up a marker and having somebody entrust you with that, thing.
Yeah.
That, like, the minute you stop caring about that, I think you should probably hand the marker to somebody else.
I love that.
I've got a last question. This is stealing a question from Eric. Eric's a guru in the pizza industry. I don't know if you knew that.
No.
He's a pie influencer. For sure.
No kidding.
No, Bill's like, I don't even know what this means, but
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Chicago pizza and where that falls in your lineup. Are you New York guy? Are you Chicago guy?
I'm an equal opportunity offender. I like it all. So
right.
We can talk about that later. What's your question?
Yeah, we'll have a follow-up conversation about pie. That sounds good.
Pineapple on pizza? Yes, no?
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Mushroom, sausage, whatever, like the deep dish Chicago pizzas I can get behind. Will I do it at home? Maybe. Where I go with pineapple is a place most people don't, and I think it would be good on pizza, is sriracha on pineapple.
Ooh,
if you haven't tried it, give it a go, because that's
jalapeno with pineapple is always great.
Oh, I've never tried that.
Oh, Bill, you've got to go get pineapple. Oh,
it's done tonight. No,
that's
I'll
a no-brainer. Hey, go ahead, Tim.
No, I'm sorry. Do you drink?
Yes.
What's your favorite cocktail?
I don't drink cocktails. I am an IPA and Cabernet guy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not a hard liquor guy at all.
Yeah, I'm not either. Cab for me all the way.
Cab.
Well, let's wrap this up, Billy.
Oh, wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so what cab? Got a family fave?
For me?
Yeah.
It's actually my boss makes fun of me because he's a big wine snob. But I've been to the Bogle Vineyards in Sacramento, and so you can buy it locally for like $12. But because I've been there and I know their story, I know their story, so I love to buy it. And my boss literally says,
"That's a household. That's a good one." If you get out to California, try a brand called A. Raffinelli.
I've had that.
Haven't had it. Isn't it amazing?
I think I've had that in the last 3 or 4 weeks.
If you can't get it easily out here because they don't ship it for whatever reason. But A. Raffinelli comes from a really small vineyard. And if it's at temperature, it is a completely unique experience. It's almost earthy. It's totally different. And I'll tell you what, it's worth standing online for. It's good stuff. Sorry, you got me off on a wine.
I had this the other day. It's called Stave and Steel. And it's like a $30 bottle, and it was incredible.
Nice.
I'm a blend guy. I like. There's one called Conundrum, and of course, Camus is a favorite too.
Nice. All right. Well, I haven't had Camus, so I'll give Camus a go.
Yeah, no doubt. I know we try and wrap this up and get you out of here. I know you got probably stories to go tell somewhere else, but you have any final last words before I throw in one last thing?
I think anybody that's out there who's listening who has an idea about something. And gets all excited about the mousetrap, just remember that your passion doesn't come through the production of the mousetrap. You're going to have to find a story that reflects back on who they are and what situation what destination they're trying to get to. And if you do that, that mousetrap will become the rage that you believe it is. If you just get out of your way just a little bit. So I think that's my sort of parting.
That's awesome. That's
Timmy,
great.
any final words?
No, I think I'm going to rewatch this a million times, and I'm sure that I'm going to be calling Bill.
Great. I just want to throw in one thing today because it's been on my mind lately, and I have a platform to do it, and people will see this, is that we're in that time of year. People struggle all the time, and depression and all that stuff's real. And I have my one day about every 6 months where for about 2 hours I feel depressed, and then I kick myself in the ass and I bounce back out of it. And some people don't. And I see people, what made me think about this, I see people on Facebook and they post, don't forget the new suicide hotline is 866 or 688 or whatever it is. And to tell people that are struggling with depression, hey, call this number. I don't think it works that way. And I think one of the challenges to people, I'm in a group of people, and last week I said, you know what, reach out to 5 people today and send them a DM and send them a voice message. Just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. What's going on in your life? And what are you listening to right now? Because that sort of stuff is the stuff that kicks their brain into that someone's thinking about me and someone's validating me and I'm important to someone. Because throwing out the suicide prevention hotline, maybe that motivates someone to make the phone call, but my gut tells me most of those people will not. We have a responsibility. We have an ability to reach out and push people in the right direction, and social media can do that just through a voice message. And how are you? How are things? Because Bill, you probably struggle quite a bit. I can tell. And so I'm going to start messaging you. It's a joke, Bill. I'm going to start messaging you on LinkedIn, like, hey, buddy. Hope you're doing all right today.
Thank you. You know what? I need it as much as anybody. But what I like about that is that it's proactive and it cuts off. It's an off ramp before it becomes a problem, right? Like if it's done regularly, what I really love about that is the notion that it gets ahead of it as much as it supports it, and that's a good thing all the way around. You
just never know how one message could affect someone and affect their day and make them feel better. And back to you talking about serving other people, it serves other people, and you know what? It takes that long to do it.
Yep.
So
can we bring Wes on so he can ask a question and if he wants?
No.
Wes.
Poor Wes. Hey Wes, how are you, bud?
Bill, I'm doing great. How you doing, Bill?
Bill,
Wes, you're the only one of us that has the real mic set up. So you're really the only one of us that's official, right? Like the rest of us are just it in.
I try.
Bill, did you know that Wes is the president of the Ohio division of the Britney Spears fan club?
Congratulations.
You can find him at Oops, Wes Did It Again on Twitter.
take a lot of grief, Wes. I can tell.
You
This
know.
reminds me of a Don and Mike episode a little bit.
Well, you were talking so much about wine and business that at some point I'm going to have to beg you to come over to Building Wins with Randy Chafee, because he is on here right now, or was, and I can tell you the two of you between business and wine would have at least 30 or 40 minutes to.
I was going to say
up.
2 hours. So
Yeah.
Well, if you add business and wine, it will easily be 2 hours, and I'm down. So by all means, let me know when we can make that happen. I would love
Dynamite. I don't have any questions, but I want to let you know that I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Well, thank you very much. So did I. Guys, thank you so much for reaching out and for the opportunity. This has been really great. I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Tim, should we show Bill how we end the show?
Yeah. Can you give us the graphic, Wes? All right. Frozen hand.
Frozen hand.
End the show, Wes.